Welcome back to Professional Insights, brought to you by the National Referral Network, where conversations are here to help elevate all discussions that you're having with your professionals. If you're a professional, then it just gives you more tools to help create value for your clients. And today, we've got Joe Nardone. He is a founder and former owner of multiple IT management companies. Great to have you. Thank you for being here, Joe.
Good afternoon, Mike, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much.
So we've got an interesting topic, you guys, this afternoon. As you know, most of our conversations are with financial professionals, but in the conversation with Joe, I thought this would be extremely relevant because if you haven't heard, a very large loan servicer, Mr. Cooper, has been hacked or was hacked last week or sometime in the near future or near past, and roughly 14 million customers' information was breached, addresses, social security numbers, and names. So I thought it would be extremely important as we go into the new year. Data breaches are on the rise, and I thought, who better to talk to than Joe about these type of topics? So, Joe, just right off the top, like, what are some of the key cybersecurity risks that businesses currently face these days with hackers?
So Mike, I think for your listeners, I think the most important thing that I want them to hear up front is we're not going to get into nuts and bolts, right? I think that the first thing that happens when people hear cybersecurity is that their eyes glaze over. And they put their hands up and say, "Take my money now. I don't want to even hear it." I think we need to give all of us the permission to approach the problem from our expertise point, right? So
Gotcha.
whether it's data security from a financial perspective or data security from a medical and health perspective, all of us have sufficient knowledge to interact intelligently with the professionals we engage to deliver the service and the security that we need. And so I think when you talk about risk, I think that's the best place to start a conversation, because risk is about exposure to things that can happen to you that are adverse. And it's an economics decision. You're talking about how much are you willing to pay in order to reduce this risk, and knowing that there's no zero. You're never going to eliminate all of it, and as you work your way up as you increase the amount of security that you have, the price starts to get exponentially higher. Right. It's just the lift becomes much, much heavier to eliminate those really small risks that exist. So,
well, Joe, and that's so that you bring up an interesting point right there. A lot of people will talk about insurance across the board as a necessary evil, right? And some may look at this, and I appreciate your disclaimer, some may look at this as that necessary evil, but it's one of those things they put off to the side. Like, I'll deal with it later. It's not going to affect me. But how do you convey the importance when there is not necessarily a rate of return, right?
Right. So
how do you convey that to a business owner?
So there's 2 points, I think. One is it is important to recognize what is valuable to a business owner. To someone who's an entrepreneur, they are oftentimes more cognizant, more aware of reputational harm than they are of financial harm. To a lot of entrepreneurs, money's really, it's important, but it's only important as a tool in order for them to grow and to do things that are important to them and to the people they care about. Reputational harm, on the other hand, is very dangerous to them. And so if they hear, for example, hey, how would you like to have all of your customers spammed or emailed with a link so that they could pay this $10,000 invoice they just got in the middle of the night on their cell phone? from you. It's got your name on it. It says, hey, pay this invoice or you're going to be shut off. And that reputational fear, I think, is one way to do that. I think it's understanding what it is that the client values in that case, which requires some relationship, so that you can translate some of the risk into how much harm is too much, and you want to protect yourself from it. So that's the one point. Second point I wanted to mention, because you mentioned insurance is a necessary evil.
Yeah.
And just in the last couple of years, I had an insurance partner for my businesses mention the fact that, the real reason why you're buying insurance, Joe, is because you want their attorneys fighting for you and you're not paying for them. And I think from that perspective, when you recognize that there's going to be, in some cases, some legal fallout, some ramifications that go into protecting yourself and your interests, and you're either going to do that by yourself with your own wallet, or you're going to do that with the assistance of a larger organization who has specialized legal and other resources that they can bring to bear on your behalf. That's
But
really,
but Joe, like there's a lot to that, right? I mean, with car insurance, right? You know what you're insuring, you know where you're transferring the risk, right? Or transferring risk away from into the insurance company.
uh,
Health insurance, you get it.
to,
Life
to some
insurance,
to some extent you do in
right?
those two cases. But go ahead.
But with cybersecurity, like if you don't know where to even begin, and you and I spoke about this before the call, is like if you don't even know what questions to ask, or if you don't even know where to look into your current infrastructure to see where a possible breach may come, so you're not even aware of what the risk is. How do you mitigate the risk if you don't even know what it is?
So I would disagree that a business owner doesn't really know what the risk is. I think that I think we're letting them cop out, so to speak, too early in the process by saying that, oh, well, it's too hard for them to know.
Fair.
It's not. It's not. Some of this is a matter of simply asking the common questions you would ask, whether you were buying a new copy machine or making an investment in your building, capital improvement wise. It's simply a question of, hey, how are these things weighted and valued? What is the return on the investment in terms of my business? And if you don't get good answers from the vendor, then you probably should look for a different vendor, because in a lot of cases um, uh, there are individuals who are selling services and they don't understand why they're valuable.
Yeah.
If you've been to a doctor and he's given you a pill instead of a way to improve your health, for perspective, then maybe I don't know, maybe that's the right doctor for you. But at the same time, I think most of us would rather hear, hey, you need to improve your diet, or hey, I understand that you like to go out and have a couple of beers on Friday night. Let's make sure you get some exercise in over the weekend too.
Right.
And so I think it has to do with a more holistic approach. And I think that we need to hold the IT professional accountable to communicate the value of what they are doing within our organization. Why am I doing this?
Yeah. So let's just say, look, so you go down this path, they do the assessment, it appears that this is the right professional. What is the process if something were to happen? And so like if an incident does happen, if a breach happens, what are the steps in that process that a business owner takes, that the IT professional takes? How does that get reconciled or fixed?
Excellent. Excellent. So there's 2 points that come to mind as you ask that question. So the first one has to do with getting prepared. The second one has to do with what do you do when it happens. So
Yep.
I want to just put one comment out there around getting prepared. This is New Year's, right? We're all getting our New Year's resolutions out there, and I'm fat and I'm out of shape, and so I want to get into shape in 2024, and I know how that'll be. I'll make a resolution today. Tomorrow, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be in shape. No, right?
That's one way.
You chuckled. And so the reality there is that what I'm going to make a New Year's resolution. I'm going to have the discipline in order to follow it through. And in the first 5 days or more, I'm going to go from fat and out of shape to sore, fat, and out of shape. And that's the reality of the world that we live in, the universe, the creation that we're in. So let's not ignore the realities of our universe, right? We're going to have to make some changes, and it's a process. There is no silver bullet. You're going to work through it, and you want to work through it with somebody that's going to help you get what you value out of the process and the journey. Okay.
Gotcha.
Item number 2. What happens when you get a hack, a breach, or you're suspecting that something's funny? There's money missing out of an account, whatever that may be. I think the number one thing to do is to bring your key people together and to share the information in that circle so that you can get some feedback from individuals in the room. And it has to be a safe place. It has to be a place where employees or customers or vendors will feel comfortable to share with you if they've made a mistake. If they know it was them, you want them to be forthcoming. And so you're going to have to build that kind of a rapport in your organization before you need it, because you're going to need people to trust you when you ask them the question. Hey, this occurred. I think we've been hacked. Does anybody have any input? Oh,
gotcha.
I logged into the bank account this morning, and then I clicked on this ad for new nylons, and then things went bad, and then I don't know what happened. Right? You want somebody to feel free to do that. The other thing you need to do is you need to look at the breach from a business perspective first and a technology perspective second. And that's very difficult for IT professionals to do. You know how they say, right? To every hammer.
Oh, yep. Everything looks like a nail.
Looks like a nail.
Yep.
So you're showing an IT person a breach, and the first thing they want to do is they want to do something about the breach. And really what you want to do is something about the business. So it's like, okay, what do we think we can or can't do, and how do we find out for sure, right? When's our next payroll due? Do we have AP bills that have to go out? What's our, is all of our money in that account? Are there other accounts? Are there lines of credit we can use in order to help us over maybe a rough bump? And then beginning to gather that information with the assistance of the IT professionals, because they're going to need to be able to tell you, hey, it looks like either these functionalities are gone. And I think it's important for them, again, at the IT side, for you as a business owner to force communication around business function, not technology. The IT group's going to want to go into, this server, that server, this service, this functionality, this. But you want them to talk about, hey, can I pay my bills? Right. Can I send out invoices? Can I receive cash in? Oh, no, you can't. Well, okay, great. What do we do? Oh, hey, I need to set up another account. I need to restore a piece of equipment that was broken by the bad guys. I need to move it to another physical location. Okay, tell me what that is separately. I want to talk about the business first.
So it's a comprehensive, because this is one of the things that you and I spoke about. A breach and I don't mean to be fearful or really hound at this point, but you talk about reality. The reality is that if something were to happen and you don't approach it on the business standpoint, and you have to pay 25, 30, 50, $100,000 for a ransomware, that could be extremely detrimental to a business. So I've never heard it approached like that, Joe, in terms of going both directions. But in terms of moving forward, how do you train your employees, your vendors, your partners to not have this happen? Because wouldn't that be ideal, just to train them up front so you really reduce the risk of this happening?
Um, wow, that's it's a great question. Um, I'm not. I'm not sure that you're going to eliminate all the risk.
That's fair.
You're going to reduce the risk dramatically by following some very basic and simple, low-hanging fruit types of security measures. Obviously, good firewalls, good routers, password changes. I mean, the best practices that exist in the industry are going to protect you a great deal. Making sure, being involved and knowledgeable about the backup process and what tools are being used to provide that data should eliminate, in all seriousness, good backup processes and protocols will eliminate any risk around having your business eliminated
Gotcha.
by a breach. You may have some pain over a day or two or 3 or 4. God forbid it would be that long, but depending on how things are broken. But good backup solutions will eliminate that almost entirely. So then the question becomes, all right, how do we put things back together in the simplest, best way possible to support the business? And that requires you have some practice in doing it. And I would suggest that you get your leadership team together and you do some role playing. And I think you get your IT group in the room and you do some of that role playing around. Okay, so what happens if we have a flood in the server room?
Oh,
I've been in circumstances where that has occurred. Army Corps of Engineers many years ago over an Easter holiday had made some changes to an on-ramp out in the eastern part of the state. At spring thaw, spring rain, boom, flood, data center. Somebody grabbed,
wow.
in those days, they were using magnetic tape media. And they grabbed the tape robot. It was a big thing. They grabbed it, they took it out. They saved the business, right? But the challenge was that the robot was full of tapes. Nobody had a catalog of all of what was
Oh,
on the tapes, and so it was a question of how long would it take to actually read all of that in order to recatalog all the media to be able to make them useful again.
gotcha.
And so had somebody role played through that process, they would have said, oh, hey, don't grab the tape robot without grabbing the piece of equipment that knows what's on it.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
do us any good. And so fire drills are a great tool, and your professional IT group should be able to come up with scenarios. I mean, why do people do fire drills in high schools and middle schools? Well,
So you don't panic when there's actually a fire,
right.
ideally.
So you don't panic, right? You know what has to occur. You know what's important. And then in addition to that, hey, Bobby broke his leg playing softball at recess 2 days ago, and Bobby's upstairs on the second floor, and you can't use elevators when a fire.
Yep.
So who's going to be responsible for getting Bobby down the 3 flights of steps?
Right.
The fire alarm goes off. Well, it's a bad time to ask that question when there's smoke in the hallway.
Yeah.
And so that's why fire drills are so important. Are you going to ask all the right questions? No. Are you going to ask some of them? You certainly are. Are you going to have rapport with individuals when it occurs? Yes, you are. Are you going to appreciate the differences of priorities between IT, accounting, payroll, accounts receivable, and customer support and sales? You
Yep.
are. You're going to start having that conversation, and you're going to be able to have some dialogue. And so creating that kind of a fire drill is very important, and making it, gamifying it, if you will, in the right
Yeah.
sense of the word, very, very powerful, because it'll bring up the right questions.
Well, I love it, Joe. And I think that's a great spot to kind of wrap. I know that there's a lot to this, Joe, and I know we could take any one of these questions and dig deeper. Want to thank everybody that's watching. If you have any questions on how you could protect your business, Joe's information is in the description below. Please share this video with a business owner that you know of. It just takes one. It could be detrimental to any small business, but it's extremely important that we share this information with people that we know, and obviously we want to see succeed. So thank you so much for the time, Joe. I certainly appreciate it. Any questions, leave them in the comments below. We'll make sure we get you connected with Joe and see how we can help. But Joe, thank you so much. Have a fantastic day.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you very much, and all that you and your audience does for all of us out there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.